All right, cool. So welcome to the Oflex podcast. I'm Dave Claxton, and not with me, as not always, is Bethany McChesney. She is off doing some family stuff and needing to take care of that. So, Bethany, good thoughts with you. But it's really cool. I'm pretty excited today. I'm wearing my RX1 shirt or a RX1 shirt. I know, I'm all prepared. And this is the first time we've had a guest who was actually a pro athlete in RX1, competes in the pro division. And not only is she in the division, but she absolutely freaking smashed it this year. Marjorie Lessard, right? It's Marjorie Lessard.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So before we get too much about what's going on, let me kind of fill you in with sometimes what we do. We talk about RX1 quite a bit here. And we get a lot of people from the States asking us about it because, well, they listen and it's different and they haven't been exposed to it. And I kind of wondered how you got your start into it. How did you end up coming across RX1?
How did I start? I was actually forced to do it, kind of. So I was in my gym. RX1 affiliated with Nautilus, which is my gym. So there was like those four guys who worked together. Both of the owner worked at Nautilus. So Seb Corbeil worked in Nautilus Plus when he was younger, and he got like in touch with a guy that was named Vincent, and they approached all the Nautilus to make like this like under league in RX1. So my boss back then, he came to see me and it was just like, I wanted to be you in charge of this group, RX1, which was named Blackout Race at the beginning, which just changed their name. I was like, cool, let's okay, let's do this. What is it? It's like it's like running and then CrossFit, and it's like, and I was like, I don't do CrossFit. I'm like a trainer in the gym, and I'd never done CrossFit, but I was like, okay. And I was new in that gym, so I was in Delson. Usually I work in Brossard, which I'm at right now. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So then the group started. We had no idea what we were doing. Um, yeah, it was very interesting. Looking back at the classes that I was doing, it's it's pretty funny. I remember doing what they call the combine, which was just like a kind of a CrossFit competition. It's like mostly on the CrossFit style of RX1. There's no race, and we were just looking at like videos of movement that we could do, and we saw people doing kipping pull-ups, and we're just like, this is cheating. They can do kipping pull-ups. Like pull-ups are straight. We're like from gym, like A to Z gym people. So it was pretty funny.
So
Start.
what were you teaching at the time? So you say you were teaching something kind of different. Were you teaching like circuit training or were you teaching like personal training? How are you working out like that?
I'm a personal trainer, so I was like one-on-one with my people in a gym, doing like machines and cable stuff, a little bit of functional, but like with dumbbells. So functional training wasn't part of the mentality that much before. So it was like the beginning of CrossFit, and we hated CrossFit because CrossFit at the beginning was like a little bit of everything and anything at the same time. So it was pretty dangerous. Everyone would hurt themselves. We're like, see, gym are way better. So it's like way safer environment. So don't do CrossFit. CrossFit is bad for you. So I'll just do like presses, bench press, lat pull downs, bicep curls. It's just like the basics of the gym. So when this whole idea came, it's like, oh, this is a lot. This is a lot of new things here. So yeah,
Yeah, and I read your posts and it's not like you jumped in and were just, taking the world by storm. It was a progress.
that was progress. But we had like a fantastic season. We won the cup. We won the Nautilus Cup. We won the small cup because RX1 has three cups. So we have like the strongest team, the mid, and we were in the lowest cup. But still, we won that cup. Um, we had we had a great time. My athletes were very good in cardio because everything that I knew about RX1 was like high reps and it's long and it's running and it's high reps everything. So all my classes were high reps everything. So usually I was on the board and it was just like 100 of this, 100 of that, and just like go for it, and don't leave before you're just like not able to walk again. It was like once a week. It was hard, and it's yeah. I don't train like that anymore. I changed my approach a little bit,
Oh, it makes
but it was
perfect sense.
it was a great year. But a lot of people and even myself, I got injured a bit because we were doing movements like Like even Olympic lifting, gymnastic was just like a beginning. So all our joints were just like the beginning of CrossFit, which I told everyone CrossFit is stupid. But then if you think about it and then teach it properly, it's not that stupid. But back then I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big CrossFit fan. I love watching CrossFit. I'm a huge fan. I still have my issues with some things, and I mean, I've been through this with RX1 where there's some movements that I don't like, and I'm maybe I need to come around, maybe I don't. I'm still that guy sitting and my wife made this joke the other day. I'm like that guy sitting behind the table with the sign saying, overhead squats are stupid, prove me wrong, you know,
Yeah.
change my mind kind of thing. And hopefully someone does. I really am. I'm hoping that someone brings me around on it. But
Tell you why it's good for you. Yeah.
are you gonna?
So I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
Mobility exercise. So it's amazing. Or if you have good mobility, most of the people that start doing that don't have the proper mobility to do some of the movements. So this is where you need to teach it properly according to the person that you have in front of you.
And this is
And this,
why I bounce back and forth from expert to intermediate is because I do not feel comfortable yet with some of the movements, namely just that the overhead squats and snatches. So when I feel more comfortable with it, then I will stay an expert all the time. So
that's what RX one. You can switch during the season. Even pro athletes, like sometimes they can do some stuff, so you can like touch it and then you come back and then you touch it again. So there's like this area that you can play.
yeah, I was actually what was the one that we went to on the mountain where you got hurt? Sorry, I talk to my wife always mid podcast.
There.
Mount Rigaud. So when we went to Mount Rigaud, I actually contemplated doing the pro one there because there's no barbells, and that's really where I struggles with the barbell. Heavy dumbbells, no problem, all that stuff. But I couldn't do the handstand walk. So I missed my chance to get a red shirt.
I'm just this little 15 feet of handstand walking.
Had I known it was just that and it was downhill, I might have signed up and just given it a shot and just kind of
Just
hoped I could fall across the line. Yeah. So your first couple of seasons, it was a progression, right? You weren't winning champions individually. You weren't winning your individual championships and races right off the hop, right? It was a progression for you.
Well, the first year it was my first expert year, and I won all of the races. So that
Mhm.
was like surprising. Even when I won the first race, I was just like, "What is happening right now? Why am I winning this?" So the first race wasn't too technical, but I remember this 65-pound bar was so heavy. It was at the end, I think it was 20 clean and 10 thrusters, and I was like, "Oh my god, it was so hard." But yeah, so this season was like magical. So every single race that will come and see me, you need to go pro and you need to try pro. And I couldn't lift the 95-pound bar over my head. I was like, Seb, I have like SpongeBob arms. I can't lift 95 pounds over my head. So I couldn't make it to pro that year. And the only difference with pro and expert that single year was just the weights. There was no muscle ups. There was no handstand push ups. There was no like fancy stuff like that. It was just like the weights were heavier. That's it. But I couldn't do it.
So then this year was very much a change.
This year was pretty much it was my best year, but then every year like you grow. So I've been in pro, like competing in presence in pro for 3 years because we have COVID and that there was like
Yeah.
this virtual season that was kind of awkward. We did it like in our backyard and it was a mess. Like it was terrible. It was fun to do, but it wasn't like a real RX one. So the first season I won my first race actually in pro because no one could do the ring muscle ups in it was in Sanivac. So I went there like third and then the girls couldn't do the ring muscle ups. So it took me 20 minutes to do 3 ring muscle ups, but I won the race. I was like, this is fantastic. I'm amazing. But then it catched me and they beat me like pretty hard on other races. But it just proved me that I could be in the game. So it was like a big motivation for me.
So if we went through this year, so this year, how many races which region did you really compete in, and then how many races did you do? Because for those out there, there's different regions. There's the Ottawa Gatineau, there's the Montreal, the what are the other ones? The East.
You have Montérégie Est, yeah, East Montérégie. You have RTL, which is Repentigny, Trois-Rivières, Shawinigan, and you have Quebec.
Okay, so we have all those regions. So which region were you out of?
I'm in Montreal.
Montreal. So
But
how many races did you pull off this year?
In Montreal, there's four with the final, so three per
Hmm.
region and the final, and I did two extra ones
All right.
for
And
fun.
did you win them all?
I I didn't win. I didn't win them all. I won the two others that I did, but I finished second in Saint-André-Avelin, which was in Montreal, which was the second one.
Hmm.
Second in the last in Montreal. So I got beaten by two different girls, which I really wanted to beat at final. So it's even more motivational when you get like beat by some other girls and you know that they can be stronger than you. So you're just like, okay, let me figure out what I did wrong and or what didn't work perfectly in the last race so I can beat them because they're pretty strong.
And that kind of thing carries on down through the divisions. Like I've had my back and forth with Benoit Brisset, and
Yeah.
and it's been great. I love it. I got so much respect for that guy. He's great. He's a little warrior. He's awesome, and I love racing him back and forth. So that kind of thing, I think it's really inherent in RX1 where you develop these great friendly rivalries where you push each other and everybody gets better from it.
Yeah, and it's very important because in pros we had this problem where there was not a lot of girls. So at some point we were three, two, four, but even this season we were way more. I think we reached like one race we were 10, and it's pretty fun to be like competing against like friends because like no one wants to like bad stuff for the other person. It's just like very motivational when you see this person and you're just like, okay, she's warming up, so I should warm up too because she's better than me. She beat me the last race, so I shouldn't. And even with that, the last race, there was we were running and there was like a dog that kind of jumped on me a little bit, and the other girl was right behind me, and she went like right beside me. She was like, "Are you okay? This dog like beat you pretty hard?" And we were just talking. We were just like, "Oh, we're racing, right? We need to get going." But it's just like fun to see that people like care about other people too. It's not just like a race to win. It's also no matter what categories you're in, you just want like athletes to be fine too.
All right. So let's go through kind of your last race, the final, right? So we had the final was at a different location. And then the setup of this race. So I mean, maybe run us through the setup because it was essentially we started out with the burpee broad jumps.
Yeah.
So
Like
how'd the whole race? Just lay the race out for us.
so the burpee or flying burpees or burpee broad jumps is one of my favorite exercise because I'm kind of good at jumping. I'm just very jumpy in life. So that was fun to start with that because I knew I could get ahead in this first section. I feel very confident when I'm in front of people, and when I'm at the back, like the race before, I kind of panic a bit. So I don't like that. So just knowing that this one could be like my safe point just to start and let the stress go down. So then we would go to a 1.2 kilometer race, 1.2 kilometer run,
Mhm.
and get to the overhead walking lunge. We had a 45-pound dumbbell, so I knew it would be challenging for me. I'm not the strongest athlete out there, so I knew I had to like push it hard. I was very happy. It was just like one. You go there and then you don't have to come back. We just had to walk the dumbbell back, so I was pretty happy about that. So it
It
was
was
like
about what was it, about 30 meters probably?
they said it was 50 yard.
50 yards? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds about right.
It was far. It was about 80 to 100 lunges.
And 45 pounds overhead for the lunges. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
it was a lot.
Yeah.
So just bring this dumbbell back after you run and you're like exhausted because it's a race. It was just like, okay, this is it. Let's go. And then you see the line in your arms just like this and you just can't let go. That was fun because the other girl was right beside me. So I was like, I can't give up. She's not giving up. So that's what brings the race like fun to do. It's a long race, but it's not that long. So and then after we had to go back this 1.2 kilometers, so back where we were from, and then we had the sled pull. So
All
the
right.
sled pull was because it's on a turf, so everything's flat. Like sometimes we do sled stuff and it's in the grass. There's like there's rocks, there's everything. The grass is not even. So sometimes you get one, you get stuck, and it's not unfair. But then sometimes you feel like mine was easier or hers was easier, or it's just like so now on a turf it was just everyone's the same. So
So actually I saw, and you can tell me if this was efficient because we talked about it. Nobody on my little crew did this, but So with that sled pull, right? It was a stationary feat. So you had to have your feet planted and then you pull. Essentially you row and then you keep going. I saw a
Yeah.
lot of people doing this row where they would bring the row like straight over their head. And I'm like, I don't know how efficient that is. And I
So
didn't know.
I almost break my shoulder. So I was like, nope, I'm just gonna roll like right here. Because it's like rowing, like the rowing machine.
Yeah.
Back then, CrossFitters would like lay on the rower and bring the and we found out it wasn't more efficient because your pull is not strong, but the sled will go further in one pull, but you'll get way more tired, and then you have to loosen your rope, and then you lose your balance. So I think for me, and I didn't see a lot of girls in my wave doing this thing. So I guess they all figured out maybe it was just easier like that. And your shoulders are already burning from
And
the
they're gonna
burpee,
blow up.
walking lunge. So doing this, and then after you have ring muscle ups and snatches, I was just like, nope, keeping it right there.
See, I was right.
I was
Anyway, so and then you're off on another 1.2 run. So how is your running anyway? So because comparatively, like a lot of people that listen when we talk about RX1, a lot of our audience is more of a running OCR nature or the new hybrid races kind of nature. So what kind of running is like a pro women's division? Like what kind of pace do you think you guys would be running at?
um like I know for a fact that if you're not below 5, you're slow.
Yeah, if you're
So
not below
tired.
5K, yeah.
So like I remember doing a race and it was like the first thing. So I had my pace because when it's in the middle of the race, I lose my pace because the watch is like all confused. But it
Yeah.
will be a while for let's say 4:30, 4:30, 4:35. And if it's at the beginning, would be like more 4:15. So that's the pace. And those girls are runners, like Magali and Evelyn too. Like they're good runners. So I need to hurry up a lot. Like I'm grateful that I'm a good runner too, but it's fast. So you need to like recover a bit and then just go like 4:30 or below.
So, and that's obviously 4:30. That's very compromised. That's not like 4:30 just running and getting a nice steady groove. That is 4:30 compromised after sled pulls, lunges, who knows what else. Burpee rod jump. So you do that last run, and then you come into essentially the lifting section, the rig area. Um, how are you position wise? How are you at that point?
Can you repeat this? I'll
Uh,
just
oh, sorry. You came into the after the last run. You come into the rig area. What position were you in the race at that point?
I was first.
You were first. Okay, so you're coming into that area. What's your mindset? What are you thinking? And then what's the next part of the race?
I was happy I was there because usually after the sled, I lose some position. I'm not the greatest at the sled, and usually I mess it up a bit. So I was like happy, but I knew for a fact that my snatches are not the best compared to the other girls. I knew this could be my weak point. So I was just like, you need to go and go as fast as you can to get through this. But I also knew that after that, we had the ring muscle ups coming and the wall balls that just like kills your legs. So I was just like, I needed to pace myself. Sometimes I will go too fast, too far, and then after that you're just like done for the race. So I did two in a row. I knew for a fact that I would do one by one, like one complex. So this one full power snatch and this hang power snatch. And I was okay with it. It's just you can't take some breaks. So I saw Magali coming and she was doing one by one too. I was like, okay, I'm in the game. So she wasn't like killing it, and I would just be like, oh, okay, damn it. So I knew I was in the great in the right mood, let's say, in the right
Right pace.
energy. Yeah, because I couldn't go faster than that. So even if I would have done 5 in a row, I would have been like sitting down for like half an hour after that. So I was just like, you need to pace it and just keep like in the red zone and not like the fire zone where like not you can't come back, but a little bit because the race wasn't really not over at that point.
No, you're kind of almost at the halfway point, really. Just a little past.
Don't pass the halfway, so you have a lot of work to do, and then you think about the next session. And I was a referee before, I was a judge during the day, so I knew like I had in mind like all the station, like it was all like there. So I was like, oh, there's a lot of things left to do here.
And what was the weight on the snatch? So it was a ground, like, a power snatch, and then a hang snatch, right? That was part of it
So it
for
was
yeah. And so what was the weight?
105.
105. Okay. So after that, what was the next movement?
So after that were the wall balls. So 20-pound wall balls, 30 wall balls. And I remember they gave me the 25-pound ball. And I was like, I'm pretty sure this is not my ball. Please check on your paper. And they were like, oh no, it's a 20-pound. I was like, cool. Because I was a little bit afraid of this 25-pound ball. After the snatches, I wasn't ready for that. So I was happy I was right about this one.
That's good. So you've gone through 30 wall balls, and then what are we off to?
And then we go to hang dumbbell snatch and push press. So it was a complex too. So you had 10 to do. And
And
then
that was 45 for you guys,
it was 45 pounds.
which
So my goal was to do like all my reps on my right arm because my left shoulder is like hurting a bit. So I knew that the push press will be a little bit harder. So I just give it all on my right shoulder. So this shoulder did like 20. So my overhead walking lunge were all my left side, knowing that I might not be able to use this one for the pressing and all the other things. So I planned that. So it was already like my race was already planned. I tested it. So that was the first time that I would actually test a race before. Usually I just go like, this is one race. I don't test it. I just do it when it's race day and that's it. So this one was a little bit more planned ahead.
yeah. Sometimes they're hard to test though, because I mean, we didn't know the weights or distances on the lunges or the sled. Because I mean, I did a test beforehand too, but I mean, who knows how far off I was? I was actually very far off on the weights of the sled. Pretty,
Yeah, the set is always surprising. The set is
yeah.
always too much. So if you expect a weight, just put more because it's always more than what you think.
I put way more on the sled that I trained with. I was way heavier, so it worked out good that way. So you've done that one, and I don't know about you, but I found that actually that portion of the race to be a bit of a recovery.
The
Yeah,
dumbbell, it was comfortable. So
yeah,
compared to their exercise, the only thing that we had was the ring muscle ups. So knowing that this was coming, the recovery wasn't that big of a, and the rings were high. So then we had like to manage a little bit, like in this little bucket, how to get to those rings. And it was windy, so the rings were just like I tried to catch them, and then one of my arm like fell off. So I was like, nope, I'm just gonna use the bucket. Take your time, and just like do it like you can do it.
and it looked to me like the ring muscle ups were a bit of a game changer in the race.
Yeah, because some girls can do them, and I think it's a very technical exercise. So if you remove a very technical exercise, you split your race into something that's very different.
Mhm.
So girls that are very good in gymnastic will just have it like no problem. And so people that are very strong or a little bit heavier, that will be harder for them to do those kinds of movement. So if it would have rained, if they would have removed the ring muscle ups, that would have been a whole different race, which could happen because it's outside.
Yeah,
So uh, we're not like free of like some last minute changes.
yeah. If it had been 2 hours later, it would have been a completely different race.
Terrible, terrible race.
So your ring muscle ups, how'd the ring muscle ups go for you? Because it was also like, didn't you have to do like 10 ring muscle ups and then
Go back to the dumbbells. We
yeah,
had 7, so they cut
seven?
it three three reps. So when I practiced it, I could do the 7 in a row in the first set, and this time I just did 5. So I did 5 and 2 both
Hmm.
of my sets, which was fine because I just didn't want like missing a ring muscle up is very painful first because your shoulders are just like not where they're supposed to be, and it's very like not energy saver. So I was just like keep it comfortable. Don't try like if you're up there and you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna go for another one and let's hope for the best. I was just like, you know what, just go down, breathe a bit, and then just go up for 2. And so that was, I think it was a good decision.
So you get through the ring muscle ups, and I assume that that was a strong station for you. So you probably maintained your lead.
Yeah, so I was in lead. I know for a fact that one of the other girl has like a heat stroke, so I could hear it. So I was like, oh, someone's not feeling good. So it's not fun to hear because you know that someone's like having trouble over there, and you see like paramedic around, and it's just. But I was just like so focused. I was like, I need to finish that race, and then I'll see what's happening around me because there was like so many things. But I could see this girl like just continuing racing. She was like half dying. And I was like, okay, I need to hurry up because she'll catch me.
Yeah, she's clearly got heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I think yeah, then what is it, the dead ball slam ball
Yeah.
squats, and then you guys had handstand push-ups.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Now, did you I were you the wall facing handstand push-ups for this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
So kipping is not going to happen.
No, no keeping because you'll break your knees into the platform, but a lot. So it was fine. Like this was like very, very easy for me. So I think the hardest one was the D ball squat. So I was like, it was just like I can't breathe. So I was just like throwing this ball, and I was like, my legs are burning. I don't even know why, but like everything was upper body and everything like was. But those squats were so hard. I was doing five, and I was like, I'm out of breath. I just need to take a break. But then my push up was just like easy, and then you go back to this D ball, and you're just like, damn it, again, still hard.
And it was what weight were you guys pushing for that? Was it
Uh, so we had
sorry,
a 50 pound ball.
50-pound ball? All right. 50-pound ball, 10 squats, and then back to 10 handstand push-ups.
It
And
was seven, so
seven? Oh,
so
they were
seven.
nice to you guys.
Yeah, no. So that was good. So that was like no problem. Then we had the box jumps,
And
and
that's your
then yeah, so that was fine.
yeah.
Good at jumping.
And I think you guys were what, you were at 30 inches for those?
No, they put all the boxes at 30 inches. So I did 30 inches, and I was like, I think in the guide though it was written 24. I'm fine doing it at 30. So then I started it, and then Seb was like, oh no, it's supposed to be at 24. So then I finished it at 30, but it was supposed to be at 24. So they moved the boxes to be at 24 to be fair with the guide, because that could be a game changer too. Like
Yeah.
6 inches, and like we're not super tall people, so 30 inches for some girls will be super challenging. So like that wasn't supposed to be like this. So I was already done, so it was fine.
All right.
But
And then the last movement was the power clean, hang clean combo.
for
And you guys were 135 was the weight?
35,
135. No issues with that whatsoever.
I was exhausted. I saw the other girls doing it, and some of them were doing it faster than me. I wasn't in a rush at that point. I knew that I got this, so I didn't have like to just like let my heart there just because I wanted to prove that I can do five in a row. So I would do them like one by one, breathe a bit, and then just like enjoy this little time, like my little time at the end of the final race. And then I just had to run on the finish line. So I wasn't like half dead also after the finish line, which is a good feeling too.
So you get the win for this. And is this the first finale that you've won, or
That was the first final that I win.
so what's
I
it
always third or second or never first.
so what's it mean to you to finally win one?
Oh, that was a big relief, I think. It's just like I put so much effort. Like this year of training, I knew last year that I was lacking strength. I wasn't believing at all that I could win this final with the movements that we had. And so I really worked hard. I changed my way of training. I changed a lot of things to get stronger, but still keep my endurance. So I was pretty happy that I couldn't actually make it this year.
Yeah. And so I'll ask you a couple of things about RX1 itself. And some things that you might like or might not like, or how you feel about some stuff. And even some things that I find might be issues, and just kind of your thoughts on it. So for me, one of the things that I really can bother me about RX1, and we touched on it before about jumping back and forth in divisions, and like I said, I do it and do that. is sometimes I see some people that maybe shouldn't be in a lower division and down there when maybe they should be up a division. And do you think that that's an issue or something that maybe they need to work on, or is it just, or is it fine the way it is?
It's hard to judge because every division has like this one extra movement or those two movements. So I have personally one athlete in my team. She is an amateur and she wins almost every single race. But this year they said that maybe the dumbbell could go up to 25 pounds. And she was like, I can't do that. Like, I have 15, it's fine. 20, it's borderline. But I remember one race, I think, was double presses with 25 pounds, and she wouldn't have been able to do it. Same thing with wall walks. We practice wall walks all year. She's close, but she's not there yet. So for this year, she wouldn't be able to make it to intermediate. So that was a little bit the same thing with me when I was an expert, and I would win every single race, but I couldn't make it higher because of back then it was because of the weight. Same thing with some girls in expert, they can make it to the weights or some ring muscle ups or handstand walk. So it's hard because there's always this one movement. Let's say intermediate to expert is the pull ups. So
Mm-hmm.
some people be able to do the pull ups. So what do you do with them? Or chest to bar, maybe they'll have chest to bar. So yes, you can work on it. So if it's been like 4 seasons that you're in the same division, maybe it's time for you to work on your weakness. If it's year or second year, but if it's been 5 years and you're still intermediate and wins everything, I think it's time to. But how can you force someone? Because it's still like for fun.
Yeah.
It's bad for the other ones, but it's for fun, and people pay to do that to have fun.
And
So
it's a tough one, right? Because you hope everybody races with integrity, but let's be honest, not everybody does.
some people want to win.
Yeah.
So people like winning. So if they go one division higher, they know they won't, or they're afraid they won't. So they just stay there. Or sometimes because of the race hours. So that's something too. So some people just don't like to be too late. So they'll be amateur, or let's say before it was intermediate or before. So they will just be in that category because of the time of the race.
No, I'd like to see them have the pros go first anyway, but that's just me.
Would love that.
I think they should get the pros go first, like everywhere, because people are there, they want to watch, they're going to be there anyway. They'll see it, it'll be more spectator friendly, get a good live stream going. I mean, that's just me. I think you put the pros out first, showcase them because everybody's there.
Yeah. So I don't know how like at the beginning, if they put us like at the very beginning, there won't be anyone. Like everyone's there at like 10,
Yeah.
like 10, 11. But how can you manage the weights? So that's also the problem. So the weights are always going higher and higher and higher.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem if you have like all like random bars and you see like the volunteers are all confused and this is a 55-pound ball, but then you have a 25-pound and then so I think for that reason it has to be like in order. So then you finish with the biggest bars and then yeah. So it like I think there's no like good ways or bad ways to see that. I would love to race early in the morning. I'm a very morning person, so
That was actually something I was excited about on the last one. I don't like when I have to drop to intermediate. It very much bothers me, and it takes it away from me. But when I saw, oh, well, you race at 8:15 or 8:20, I'm like, oh, that's all right. I'm down. I'm okay with that part. That's good.
yeah, so that was good.
Yeah, it was like perfect weather that time. The other thing that I mean, and it comes up with just about every hybrid race, especially ones with so many technical movements, is judging. And I mean, I have seen my fair share of great judges and not so great judges. How do you, is there any, how would you think is a way to try to even that out so that we have consistency? Like, is there any way that you can think of that would help to get more consistent judging throughout the race?
But I think that now RX1 has really improved on that because before it was just volunteers or nobody. So people would cheat. They had like pucks and they had like how to count reps and it was terrible. Now they formed their refs, but it's hard to be a judge. It's hard to call a no rep. It's hard to know all the movements. So and sometimes just like they're missing people. So like people just come and help. It's mostly to count the repetition. Like they're not secure enough to call no reps. But there's a friend of mine. He owns a Ref for Rent, which is like a new company that they started to form referees, and they rent their service to competition. So RX1 has their refs that they form, and you have this business out there that forms their ref too, but it's still like individual that needs to learn on how to be able also to call this no rep, or how to be able to like judge properly. So it's still on process. It's not perfect, but I've seen other competition, let's say CrossFit competition, that's way worse. So you need to judge if it's the last amateur woman that's just like finishing a race and you see that she's alone, just let her be. Like tell her what to do, and if she cannot squat deep enough, it's fine. But yeah. So there's always like improvement that can be made there, but it's better. And I think it's in progress and they're already working on that because it's way better when you have good judges. Sometimes it's in the volunteer area, like you see like people moving their feet, people doing like stuff that they're not supposed to do, but those volunteers are just there to tell people where to go. So they're not there to walk around and call no reps to people, but they'll need like a bigger amount of people, a bigger amount of volunteers. So I think it's hard to have all that staff available. And I think this is why when you have pro, so you have like money involved, so you really have like they put their best referees and they're more like aware of what's happening because there's actually money involved, not just like a medal or a position. Because it's hard to judge like 600 athletes at the same time.
Yeah, it is a logistic nightmare. And I although we do critique, we're also super thankful for everybody who steps up and judges because it is a tough job. And it's great that everybody takes their time and goes out there and do it. We do our fair share. And so thank you for doing it. And we're going to continue to rag on you. That's just the way it is. But
yeah.
Yeah. Other thing too is I always thought they could just take like, especially for the last bits through the rig, like just post what's part of the workout right on the rigs. Because sometimes the judges get a little lost and confused too, especially with different divisions coming through and different, so post it right up there. Everybody knows. That might help a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. And the last one was confusing. So it was a lot of like complex 30 of this. You go back to the 10 of that. And it's mostly the weights too.
Yeah.
So or not. But knowing like to be a coach, even if it's written on the board, people will just stare at you and be like, what are we doing? And I'm just like, the board's right there. It's written 10 squats. Then they look at the board and they look at you. They're like, okay, I'll do the 10 squats. And then they come back and they don't look at the board. They still ask you, so what's next? It's 20 shoulder press. It's written after the 10 squats. So knowing that, like those sheets would not be very useful for a lot of people.
No, I think they'd be useful for the judges, not for the people.
Just had their sheets though.
Yeah.
So they all a pad and sheet, but it was, I think it's confusing at some point.
It's tough. It's tough. And they are doing their best. So we appreciate it. How do you kind of feel like an RX1 athlete? Okay. Are you familiar with Hyrox and DecaFit and all that stuff?
Not that much.
Not that much. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how you would think like RX1 athletes would stack against people who are Hyrox athletes. Like, for example, someone like Lauren Weeks or Megan Jacoby. Have you any of those names familiar?
Not that much.
Well, then this question isn't worth a crap.
What's the difference between those competitions?
All right. Well, actually, so you're not a bad runner and stuff. So let me explain what Hyrox is. So Hyrox is a race where it is the same 8 workout zones every time, never changes. And in between each zone is 100 meters or is a 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters of running. So you start out with 1,000 meters of running, then you do 1,000 meters on a ski erg, 1,000 meters of running, then you do 50-meter heavy sled push, 1,000 meters running, 50-meter heavy sled pull with a rope.
Just cardio.
Yeah, it's a hard effort. 1,000-meter running. What's after that? The burpee broad jump, 80 meters of burpee broad jump. 1,000 meters of running, 1,000-meter row, 1,000 meter of a run, Then it's the farmer carry, so a 200-meter farmer carry with I believe the pro women is probably about 55-pound kettlebells, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Another 1,000 meters running, then 100 meters walking lunges with weighted walking lunges, another
Game.
44 pounds, I believe, and then another 1,000 meters into 100 wall balls to finish.
Yeah.
So
It's
that is
always
always the same, never changes.
okay.
I'll send you some videos, and it's indoors as well. So we'll send you the video. How do you think someone like yourself would fare at a workout like that?
How we would do like on a like right now, if I would do like that, I would suck. Prepare for that at all. That's a lot of cardio. That's a volume of cardio, which RX1 doesn't do anymore. They used to have like way longer races, and now they chop it up to like meet the CrossFit people needs because it was too long, like 2 hours and a half, 3 hours for some people. It was just too much volume. And CrossFit is like small events.
Yeah.
So if you want like CrossFitter interested, don't put like 100 clean, 200 box jump, like a little bit like this kind of like races. So this will be a way different. Like CrossFit and RX1 people would not be that great at the beginning at that kind of race.
Well, actually, they've had a couple of success with a couple of crossers. Actually, Ricky Gerard just in Australia just did one, and he posted. I mean, I'm going to call it a good respectable time.
Okay, so what's a good respectable time for all this?
So for a pro man, if you want to be considered like top end elite, like let's say top 30 in the world, you're going to have to be under 60 minutes, right?
Okay,
For a woman, probably under 65. And
okay,
that's going to put you kind of in that top 20, top 30 range. The record for the men is, I believe, 54 something. And for the women is like 59 something. So it's fast. And so Ricky went out and he did, I believe it was a minute two something or an hour two something. So a good time, but not quite up there with
that
the
quick.
top men. But still that so yeah, some CrossFitters would be very good. Michaela Norman. She's a she's been to the games as a teams CrossFitter. She actually held the record for a little while for the women with
Oh
like
yeah,
with a 60 something. She's a very much an engine CrossFitter, right?
but good CrossFitters are good in everything. So you'll see a lot of people in even in RX1, their weakness is running. Their
Yeah.
weakness will be cardio, but they'll be good at weightlifting. They'll be good at like dumbbell stuff. So like average CrossFitters, like myself, we all have like a strength, and we have like big weaknesses. And a lot of people, their weaknesses is their cardio. My
Mhm.
weakness, my worst weakness was my strength, and this is what I had to work so hard to get like a little bit stronger. So I'm like on the other range. I'm like more an endurance athlete that tries to be strong, and most of the CrossFitters are stronger athletes that tries to be endurance.
He's describing a good high rocks.
Yeah, you actually are describing a very good high rocks athlete.
Yeah.
And then as well, DecaFit, which is a little shorter, is the same kind of similar build. It's 10 stations and only 500 meters of running between.
Okay.
And they actually also have the same 10 stations with 160 meters of running between or no running between.
Okay.
So just the
So
10 straight stations, which are 30 reverse lunges. And I'll say the weights for the women: 30 reverse lunges with a 33-pound weight, 500-meter row, 20 box step over. So not jumps, step over. So it's a bit of a different movement at 24 inches. 25 med ball sit-ups with a 14-pound med ball, 500-meter ski, 100-meter farmer carry with 40 pounds in each hand, 25 cal bike on the assault bike.
okay, so that's like quick
Yes,
stations.
exactly. Most yeah. So the 25 cal bike, then 20 40-pound dead balls over the shoulders. Then they have a 100-meter tank push. I don't know if you've seen these magnetic resistance tanks. They used them in CrossFit games, not this year, but last.
Yeah, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, have you used one?
No.
It's weird. The harder you push, the worse it is.
Yeah.
It's weird. So that followed by 20 RAM burpees, which is essentially A ram is just like a cylinder. It looks like a foam roller, but they use a 22-pound one for the women, a 44-pound one for the men. It's essentially like a devil press.
Okay, and then you just like press it up and
Yeah, yeah. Over your head down in the burpee, over your head down, 20 to finish it. So that's the end of it. So yeah, it's those stations with either no running, 160 meters of running, or 500 meters of running in between. That actually seems to me like something from what you described that you might be very good at.
yeah, that's a little bit more painful than the other one because it's shorter, so you just need to be like
Yeah, yeah, you really redline that one. It's well, I mean, let's just say the top women are going anywhere from about that's 12 to 13 and a half minutes for the strong for no running in between.
that's fast.
It is fast. It is very fast. So yeah, these are things, and I'm interested. I want to send you some stuff. I would like you to look at it so you can see how you think some of these women might do in an RX1.
Yeah, and I would love to try that. I'm only going to try that this week.
I'll send you the readout. Actually, here you go. September 28th. Come on down to Ontario. We have one going on at a gym that we coach at, and it'll be the one with no running.
Oh, that's fun. I'm good at running though. Still.
Yeah. Come check that out. We'll get you the list.
Getting bored, like doing always the same thing. Like I feel like RX1, what's fun about it is that it's like a surprise. Like on Saturday, we're just like all excited. I'm just like on my phone. I'm like, they're supposed to send it at 9 and it's 9:02. And we're just like, I want to know the race. It's just like exciting. Every time it's different. Sometimes you're disappointed and then you do it and it's fun. And sometimes you're just like all excited. The movements are fun and it's just like a complete tragedy. Like it's just like all right.
See, that's why I like them both. I like to have the ones like the deck and the Hyrox that's the same every time, but then I like to have one that's a surprise too. So and this is I tell people you don't have to pick. You can do many things.
Yeah, true. But it's like a 10K run. Like some people just they run for a distance and then that's it. It's like the same thing with exercising in it. That's true.
So you touched on something earlier, and I wanted to mention this. So when I did my first RX1 was back in like I think it's 2017, and it was 8K of running in that event.
Yeah, so that was in 2018, and that was the worst race ever.
Okay, so now but I mean it was 8K of running, and there was much less, I would say, high skilled movements.
Oh yeah, it was just lunges in the sand and flying burpees in the sand and surrender in the sand. Everything was in the sand.
Tire flips. Exactly. You got it exactly. It's exactly what it was like. And now you say they've kind of changed a bit. It's a progressed and evolved, and it has shortened and become more CrossFit-y. So my question to you, and people ask me this, so I have to tell them, is it not just CrossFit now?
Looks like it. CrossFit though has like separate events. It's short. Usually, except on the CrossFit game, that you'll see like 40 minutes of something. They'll do like 40 minutes of biking. They can do like an hour and so of swimming and stuff. But like working out, usually it's not that long. Like this year at the game, like all the workouts were like below 20 minutes and some were below 10 minutes. It was like super quick and super. So putting it in a race and adding like, let's say 2 to 5 kilometers of running in it just change the whole thing, which doesn't make it CrossFit, which make it more like a race, and you have a lot of carries in it, which you have a little bit less in CrossFit. You have a few carries, but you won't see like sled pull, sled push, and you won't see like all those stuff in one workout. So what makes it like different, I think, is the amount of things you can do in one workout. That makes it like completely different. And this is why good CrossFitters sometimes won't be the best in RX1 because they're strong and they're very powerful and they're good in 10 minutes. But if you spread it to 15 minutes, it's a whole different thing. And you'll see a lot of OCR athletes, mostly in lower categories, winning those events because they're fast. They have good cardio. Sometimes their form is a little bit questionable. And I would like to like give them a few tips, but still they'll make like better athletes. So yeah, it's not just CrossFit. They move towards CrossFit, and I think they're at the point that it's good. Don't go too far towards CrossFit because maybe you'll lose your racer, your runners, your OCR people that also appreciate it.
Awesome. Before we wrap it up, is there anybody out there that you want to mention or thank, or I don't know if you have any sponsors or your gym you work at or whatever?
I have my always like CrossFit Chateauguay is where I work out a bit. This is where everything started. So I was in Nautilus. It's mostly a gym. So this is the first gym that actually helped me. And I talked to the owner this very first year. I was like, Jill, you need to help me. I don't know how to teach my athletes Olympic lifting. I need to work on gymnastic. I have no idea. I don't have the space. I don't have anything. So I think it all started there. Then I became a member there. And then I think if this place wasn't there at that point, I would have just like continue watching YouTube and trying my best to do something. It was just like there at the right time. And this guy was racing the first year. He's not a runner at all, but he wanted to like make like CrossFit Strategy like part of it. It's a super small gym, and I'm very thankful for this beginning, for this guy to have helped me with this, because now it's my new way of coaching. Like CrossFit and functional training is part of my day-to-day coaching and training. So it changed my whole life, actually, my working life and then my training life. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, it's funny. It always sounds cheesy. We talk about it sometimes, and we say that these sports, and we talk a lot about OCR as well and everything. They change your life.
Yeah, because it's everything. It's like my day-to-day.
Yep. It sounds cheesy, but it's true. Anyway, Marjorie, congrats on this year. It was amazing watching you out there. It's been a lot of fun. I can't wait to watch you next year and see you go. Thank you for coming on and helping people understand a little bit more about RX1 and what you do. And yeah, keep kicking ass. And we got to have you back on here, and we're going to get you out to some decas and high rocks.
Good. I want to try that. I really want to try that. I want to see the workout. I'm trying it like this week. I'm excited now to see where I can, I don't know, see myself.
Awesome.